I mean, to be fair with you here, so let me get this straight. So basically, Life is Strange Before the Storm is basically the event that takes place before the first, you know, before the first game. So, besides the point that well, that doesn't make any sense. Besides the point that now it's kind of confused me because even though Life is Before the Storm takes place obviously before the events of the main story of the first game, telling you the story of that now we could play as Rachel. So basically, Rachel is basically the story of Arcadia Bay. Because they say that Life is Strange, Life is Before the Storm is basically two games that takes place in Arcadia Bay. But also, they are basically like a city that Chloe belongs to, but now she's dead. We have no pieces here anymore. I mean, the whole story about Chloe is basically both Rachel and Chloe is now dead in this place, so basically it's no longer on use anymore. So it was easy peasy lemon squeezy for us. Was a clear victory for us. I guess it was a clear victory for us because there's no way 10 hells that the necklace was to be that bad. But at least basically we want to be a little more aggressive than usual. Now you could say now, even though Life is Strange is basically a short game, but it wasn't really that short. It was actually like basically a story about two. It was about the relationship of both Rachel and Chloe, similar way with the first Life is Strange, that was about a full Max relationship between Max and Chloe, obviously. So after now finally Rachel passing, now Max then taking her turn. But I guess for now I feel more disturbed than usual. But I could say now basically now get the base now over with those two games. What's your favorite? Life is Strange or Life is Before the Storm? I would say Life is Strange. Don't get me wrong, Before the Storm is basically a really interesting story. But Life is Strange is pretty much the most sad one. Like basically, at least basically Max and Chloe has more chemistry, an incredible one, than Chloe and Rachel. And yes, true that Life is Strange Before the Storm takes place 3 years before the events of the main story of the first game. But at least you feel like basically the intents of this story be more like a beautiful one. What I'm trying to say is that even though I failed to meet her mother, Rachel failed to see her mother, at least basically it was like a more intense. What do I mean? At least basically try to show you that. And it's basically like to show you that at least it tried to show you that at least basically that even though those three ladies was victimized by Mr. Psychopath, but at least basically Max managed to defeat her with her rewind powers. At least I'm kind of glad that somehow he got defeated. At least I'm kind of glad. And I guess you can say that technically this story is only about those three girls, Max, Rachel and Chloe, about dining with the city. But unfortunately, one of them survived and two die. Like it's like a basically like see a horror show, a horror movie, but instead of a house, it's a city. And the main protagonists are Chloe, Rachel, and Max. One of them survive. The two of them take the downfall. But I suppose it was basically a story like no other. But that's it. And peace.